You suck. This is Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitter. The reason why I'm playing that particular reason at the beginning of today's show is I will be doing my spoilerific review of the Joker movie that came out on Friday. I saw it yesterday, and I have some comments on it, and that song is a big part of it. I'll just tell you right now, the scenes you see in the trailer of the Joker dancing on the steps, he's dancing to that song. So I think it was appropriate for today's episode 316, Clown Comments Bro. I know the actual quote is, that's a clown question, bro. But since I'm not really offering questions so much as comments, I figured that would be a appropriate thing to do. Actually, let me move this a little bit back here. I'm going to fix my studio up here a little bit. So, studio being my, no, there we go. Gotta get the flamingo in there. So how the hell are you today? It's October 4th. Oh, I'm sorry, 5th. Yesterday was October 4th because yesterday was my 16th wedding anniversary. Might talk a little bit about that today. And yeah, it's the 5th of October. It is now actually here in the Middle East, not Middle East, the Mid-Atlantic, Mid-East, whatever. The Mid-Atlantic, it is feeling much like autumn should be right now. Temperatures are in the 40s and 50s at this moment. Let's see, here in Reisterstown, we are at a balmy 57 degrees right now. The high today was 63. Tomorrow will be a little bit warmer, be 74 and a high of 66. That's going to linger for a couple days, and then it's going to get back into the 60s. The 40s don't return until next weekend. So interesting. I thought it was going to be colder than that. What do I know anyway? I think some rain's coming, though. But let's say, so today's episode of Dylan Knows, we'll be talking about my Joker review. Spoilers, totally spoilers. I was going to do it like right off the top of the bat, but I figured, a lot of people might not have seen it yet, so I figured I'll run some other stuff through here first, and then I'll do my Joker review probably in about half hour to an hour from now. So maybe half hour from now. Talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about the F word, Stranger Things, Percy Jackson, a guy in Twin Peaks, a guy you probably never heard of named Tom Lyle, and I'll tell you all about him. Birds of Prey trailer, which actually, to be honest, is the Harley Quinn trailer. Star Wars furniture, Harry Potter weekend, cookie cookbooks, Halloween, sexy Halloween costumes, food, 3 stories of computer stuff getting hacked, and interesting things being put on them. Starbucks introduces sippy cups for grown-ups. What else we got? A wearable airbag. Dutch police did something that I've never seen before in my life. A breastfeeding yoga mom. And what else I got? Oh, and then we're going to talk a little about what Martin Scorsese today said this week about the MCU and stuff like that. So got a pretty packed full show today. Carmine said 2 boys. Now there are 1. There was 2 viewers. Now there's only 1. Anyway, so Joker review. No, that was my first thing listed here, but I'll do that later. My anniversary was this week. It was yesterday, actually. I took the day off of work, and I was going to surprise my wife, so I just left like I was going to go to work, and went and had some Chick-fil-A for breakfast, and then did some Pokemon Go hunting, and then went to see Joker, and then went and picked up flowers, and then drove to her work, and luckily caught her right about 1 o'clock. She was going to get ready to go to lunch, and took her to Arby's. It needed to be quick, and it was nearby, and we had a nice lunch together, and then went grocery shopping and came home, and just sort of relaxed till she got home. And then I went and got pizza, and then we opened presents and watched Zorro the Gay Blade, which again is also something about the Joker movie, which I got to tell you, which is kind of funny too. And that was it. So it was a nice anniversary, and we'll see more about that. It was weird though. Every year has a specific present that you call the anniversary present or whatever. So it's like the typical present, like the 25th is always going to be silver, but there's like papers like the first year, so like that. So you're supposed to buy presents for your anniversary that's based on that sort of theme. Well, this 16th anniversary was oddly specific when it said silver hollowware. And I looked it up as like, really, that's what it is, but that's what it is. So it basically means mugs and vases and stuff like that. So I ended up getting a silver vase for her and a silver uh, spoon, which is kind of, I mean, when you type in 16th wedding anniversary presents into Amazon, all that stuff popped up. So you can do that for anything really, like 15th, 20th, 21st, whatever. It'll list everything that's a good theme for that anniversary present. So that's pretty cool. So if you want to get something special, that'd be a good thing to do. The big present, of course, I think I told you about this. We're going to go see Wicked in February. I told you about that last week. So, and we were normally going to go see Wicked during the matinee and then stay at a hotel downtown and go out to dinner. But the only time I could get tickets for the show that wasn't interfering with other stuff on the weekends is the 15th of February, which is the day after Valentine's Day. And since Valentine's Day is on a Friday, it's Valentine's Day weekend, basically. So I would guarantee you that hotel rooms and restaurants would be extraordinarily expensive because a lot of people probably wouldn't be able. I mean, it is on Friday, so they might be able to do it Friday, but they might prefer to have like a whole day of Valentine's Day celebrating. So they might rather do it on the weekend. So that's why I felt that the hotels and the restaurants would probably be extraordinarily priced for Valentine's weekend. It's a way to gouge more money out of people, but hey, it works. So instead, what we're going to do then is sometime in the spring, we're going to go to a Virginia winery, bed and breakfast type of thing, and spend the nights. That'd be good. So another year down the road. Robert Downey Jr., Robert De Niro, who is also in the Joker movie, made the news this week when, during a live broadcast on CNN, he said the F word, which you're not supposed to do on network, when it was talking about the government. And he actually said it live, and it was clear as day, and everybody heard it. So there's not much you can do about that. So that was an interesting story for this week. Tom Lyle is someone you probably don't know about, have heard of. But I do have a little bit of connection with him. He is a comic book artist from the 1980s and early 90s. He started on a DC comic called Starman, which I bought. And then he ended up doing the Robin miniseries when they introduced Tim Drake as the third Robin. He did the 3 Robin miniseries like that. And then he did a bunch of other stuff. I couldn't tell you what else he did after that. But the reason why I know about Tom Lyle is because back in the 1980s, when I was a youngin', there was something called Serendipity, which was like the last Sunday of every month. The Holiday Inn up in Towson, because I grew up in the Towson area, the Holiday Inn in that area, which is no longer there anymore. They tore that sucker down a long time ago, and they built some shops on top of it. But it used to be a place where I did some swimming lessons, and it was a hotel. But they had a like a conference room sort of thing, and they had a Serendipity, which was just this massive ballroom filled with comic book vendors. This is still where comic book stores were not quite as prevalent as they are now. And this was a way to get back issues and new comics and stuff like that. And you would try, they wanted to draw more attention. So they would get some, not lesser talent, but talent that was, on the rise or was easy to get. Tom Lyle was one of those guys, as was Chris Sprouse was another one that I met doing that stuff. And since this is more of an intimate sort of setting, I would go up and we chit chat, and it was no big deal. He wasn't a big artist at that time, and it was just fun. And he drew pictures and talked to us about things and showed us the stuff he was working on. And really nice guy. And then there was some other stuff going on. I mean, every one of the vendors there would give something away. To at the end there would be a drawing. You would, when you went into Serendipity, you bought these tickets that had the numbers on them, like the raffle tickets, and you had to hold on to them, and then they would put the other part into a container, so that at the end of the show, like about a half hour before, maybe an hour before the show ended, they would have everybody come over and they would start drawing numbers for these prizes that the different vendors send. It could be a special comic book, it could be a trade paperback, it could be a video, anime or whatever. So I won a couple of those, and it was neat, and it was just an interesting little get together. I mean, I usually have my parents drop me off where I could actually walk. It was a long walk, but I did walk there before and do it on my own. But most of the time I was waiting for my parents to pick me up, but I spent most of my time there, and there was a place you can get food from if you wanted to. So it was a nice thing, but that was where I really met Tom, and I got to know him a little bit, but gradually, I hadn't seen a lot of his work. I don't think he'd really been working all that much, and just found out this week that he had a aneurysm, and he's in a coma right now. So hopefully uh, he'll recover and he'll be okay. So thoughts and prayers to Tom Lau and his family. Percy Jackson is a series of books that came out a little bit after the whole Harry Potter thing, and it's written by writer Rick Riordan, who, instead of it being about magic, wrote about mythology and followed the lives of a bunch of demigods, young demigods, who went to a place called Camp Half-Blood, and they went on adventures and stuff like that. So Percy Jackson's been a big series. My kids love the series. They've had two main series for Percy Jackson, and then there's a third one where they're in there every once in a while, but they're not the main stars of it. Apollo is. And then Rick Riordan's also written books about Egyptian mythology and Norse mythology. So, oops, I just clicked that off. That's not right. There we go. So that was kind of interesting. So they made two movies, one of which was directed by Chris Columbus, who directed the original Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And when it was announced that he was going to do it, I thought, okay, this will be the beginning of a new franchise. It'll make as much money as Harry Potter, because we read the books and we loved them. And the movies were terrible. They were just awful. And so they only made two. And they were made before my kids really got into it when they were younger and stuff like that. But once my daughter started getting into it, she wanted to watch the movies, and she said the same thing. Said these are terrible. So we always keep hoping that someone's going to reboot it. Well, we got news this week that potentially, it's a rumor right now, that a Percy Jackson streaming series could be coming up very soon. Now, apparently, Percy Jackson's owned by Fox, who's now owned by Disney. So if they decide to do it, it may show up on the Disney Plus streaming service. Because at the same time, there's going to be a new Lord of the Rings, a TV show coming out on Amazon, I think. And then I think Netflix is doing a Wheel of Time show. So they want to, with Game of Thrones no longer being around, everybody wants to do at least one of these fantasy sort of TV shows. So Percy Jackson would be a perfect choice for that. It's a modern day story, yes, but it has to deal with ancient gods and stuff like that. So it'd be a good idea. And if it's a true rumor, they need to do it right, because at the beginning of the series, Percy's about the same age as Harry was, about 11, 12 years old. In the movies, they made him like 15, 16 years old. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully that'll be good. My kids are hoping that it's going to be that way. Speaking of Netflix, they announced this week that Stranger Things has officially been greenlit for a fourth season. And also the Duffer Brothers, who are the creators of the show, have gotten an overall deal as well. So it means that a lot of people believe that this fourth season will be the last one for Stranger Things. But Netflix is very happy with the Duff Brothers. So they are the Duffer Brothers, I should say. So they are giving them an opportunity to create another show that they will show on Netflix. So it can be anything. It doesn't have to be a Stranger Things prequel or sequel or whatever. It could be a completely new story that they want to do, and Netflix will air it. That's part of the overall contract that they just signed. So Stranger Things 4, they showed a teaser trailer. It starts off like the usual thing with the awesome theme song, but then it sort of burns into flames, and then it enters the Inside Out. And then the key phrase in it was, we're not in whatever the Haddonfield or whatever their town is anymore. So a lot of people are speculating that they're not going to be sticking around the town that they've been in for these 3 seasons, that they're going to actually branch out a little bit, or they're going to spend more time in the Inside Out or the Upside Down or Upside Down. So we'll see what happens. Stranger Things for no date yet has been set. So sometime next year, obviously, probably around this time next year, they'll probably show up because they still haven't made it yet. They just announced that it's being done. They haven't gotten the scripts or anything set or the filming done. So they need to write the scripts. They need to get the story done. They need to write the scripts, and they got to pre-production it. Then they got to produce it. Then they got to edit it, and then they got to send it out. So it's going to take a while. So I would say you'd probably see it probably around this time next year. I don't think they're going to surprise us for an earlier date than around this time next year. A 72-year-old man kills a burglar, then goes right back to sleep. So I guess maybe he heard a burglar breaking in. I guess he pulled out his gun, bam, bam, shot the burglar. Burglar goes down, boom, dies. And they just, oh, well, I'm just going to go back to sleep, and falls back to sleep. So kind of interesting story. Weird that you didn't call the police to come pick up the dead body, or that you actually killed somebody in your house. Self-defense, sure, you can make that comment, but that's still a little, we'll see what happens. A woman goes into the lion exhibit at the Bronx Zoo was taunting and dancing and trying to get the lion's attention. And the lions were so good that they didn't take the bait for us. They just watched her act like a total complete idiot till the zoo officials were able to get her out of there, because that's illegal and it's against the laws. And hopefully she will be put away for trying to get the animals to attack her, which would be really kind of stupid. Speaking of rumors, Twin Peaks is one of my favorite shows. They did a show a couple years ago, 3rd season, about 25 years after the 2nd season ended. And it was fairly successful for Showtime. They were happy with it, and the fans are mixed on it. I'm still kind of mixed on it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, but there were some definite moments in there, and it was fun to see the characters from Twin Peaks again. But I just wish they would have focused more on Twin Peaks and the characters there and the stories there, and maybe wrapped up some of the storylines that they left dangling. I know that's not David Lynch's style, and that's not what he does, but it's kind of frustrating when it comes to like that. But rumors were abounding this week that all kinds of stuff has been coming out, little comments being made by different groups of people, picked up by all kinds of media, that looks like that Showtime is going to greenlight a 4th season of Twin Peaks, and also potentially a 5th season. So we don't know. Again, this is all mere speculation, stuff like that. But if Twin Peaks does come back, I'll have to start thinking about if I'm going to go back and get the Showtime app that I used on my computer, because that's how I watched it. I watched it through the computer here, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just wait and wait for it to come out on DVD. I don't know. I'm a fan, but the 3rd season still kind of left me a little wanting. So we'll see. Does mean we had to pay for the Showtime stuff on Amazon, I guess, and that's all I watched on it was Twin Peaks. And then once it was over, I was like, okay, I'm done with it, and I canceled it. So we'll see what happens. The Harley Quinn trailer came out this week. I call it that because it's not actually a Harley Quinn trailer. It's supposed to be the Birds of Prey trailer. It's supposed to be called The Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of Harley Quinn. But the trailer just made it look like it was a Harley Quinn movie with other people in it. Birds of Prey is a... Looks like Jinx is going to throw up probably. Birds of Prey is a series about Black Canary and Huntress and actually Batgirl are the 3 main people who go and do like undercover stuff and stuff like that. But they just threw Harley Quinn in there, and because I'm sorry, it just sounds like she's throwing up. And because she's the most famous of the characters, they focused on her, and to me, I swear, it just looks like a Harley Quinn movie, and you caught barely any glimpses without any revealing who it is. That these are, Black Canary and Huntress and stuff like that. There are a few things you could figure out that they were who they were, but at the same time, it was okay. And it was interesting to see Ewan McGregor's Black Mask, who's playing the villain. But I'm not sure I'm going to go see this movie. It just doesn't look as interesting as I thought it might be. We'll see. Maybe we'll see another trailer eventually down the line before its February 14th release date, and maybe they'll show more of the other characters. So we'll see. Woman caught a ghost of her son on a security camera. So Halloween, you get these kind of ghostly stories, whatever, but you get your security cameras up, make sure that nobody's going to break into your house or steal your things or whatever. And this one woman's looking over the footage of one night, and she saw the ghost of her dead son in the footage. So they had a picture of it. It looks like a person in the video. It looks like a ghost in the video. So it's a pretty good look that possibly could be a real ghost. So Jinx, I hope you didn't throw up on anything up there except the rug. That'd be fine. We'll clean that later. In the what the F, I can't say, it's not 10 o'clock yet. In the what the F department, a Florida black man, was sentenced to 10 days in jail and 1 year probation for missing jury duty due to oversleeping. The guy missed jury duty and is being put in jail for 10 days and has 1 year probation. What does that even mean? He can't fall asleep for 1 year? It's just more signs that racism exists entirely, and it's being appealed, so hopefully it won't register. But missing jury duty, you get 10 years of jail time? Not 10 years, 10 days of jail time? That's effing ridiculous. And is not right. And there's something desperately needs to be done with whoever sentenced him for that. If you miss jury duty, yeah, it's something that happens, it's what you have to do, but you don't send somebody in jail for that. You fine them or give them a ticket or something like that, and that's that. Stupid. Now, I like cookie dough ice cream. I've always liked raw cookie dough has always been kind of good. There was when I worked at the bagel shop, we had frozen cookie dough that sometimes I would just pull right out and just pop right in my mouth and eat it straight through. I probably shouldn't, because that screwed up our inventory, because it was one less we could make cookies of, but they were just so good. And they weren't like hard as rocks, so I could pop them in my mouth and chew them, and it was good. But now there's actually a cookbook that has come out that has many edible cookie dough recipes, so recipes that include raw cookie dough. Now, we all hear the stories that if you eat raw cookie dough, you could get disease or something like that. But the raw cookie dough that's in ice cream, stuff like that, you're not in any threats for getting diseases, and so these probably are the similar ways as well. Sorry if I feel like I'm slurring a little bit. I'm really extraordinarily tired. I'm going to try to get through this. We were originally going to do this today, but we might do it tomorrow. Honestly, I'm not really too excited about it because I really don't want to go anywhere. But my wife thinks it'd be kind of neat, and it probably will. Ellicott City is a historical city near us. They are turning a bunch of their shops into like Harry Potter-esque sort of shops this weekend. So go down there and they'll have like Harry Potter themed drinks and food and stuff like that, and there'll be activities and stuff like that. So my wife wants to take the kids to see that, but I feel like I'm so tired, and the kids are exhausted because they're going to do popcorn tomorrow. Then Noelle has to do a hike for Scouts, and Noah's probably going to join them for that too. So, and then I don't think they're going to walk around Ellicott City for a long period of time. So we'll see. But if you are interested in something like that and you're nearby in the area, go down to Ellicott City. They've got the Harry Potter stuff going on. Get taste of butter beer and stuff like that. So we'll see. Oh, come on, you can do it. A Star Wars Wampa beanbag chair is now available, and it allows you to take off one of the arms and use it as a pillow. So that's kind of funny, and it's a piece of furniture for the Star Wars geeks out there. So totally go get it. Pregnant woman discovers her house was once a meth lab after she tests positive for drugs. I guess she had to. I don't think she was being drug tested for a job or something. It might have been just in the process of having a checkup, and they discovered drugs in her system, but she doesn't take drugs. And then they discover that, oh wait, yeah, the house you're living in now used to be a meth lab, and I guess some of the residue is still around. You've been breathing it in, so I guess that is could be believable. I don't know if it would be possible. I would assume it would be something that was reasonably possible to happen. I don't think it's one of those stories like the woman who claims that the wind picked up a bag of cocaine and flew it into her purse, her open purse. That was totally not a real story. I mean, it was a real story, but it was a lie the woman was making so she wouldn't get busted for drug possession. So I don't know about that. We'll see. At this point, I think it's an earnest story. I think it's true, and I think that she wasn't a drug. She wasn't taking drugs, and just so happens that her house was a meth lab, and it's causing her issues right now. The Beatles' Abbey Road is #1 again on the UK charts. So Abbey Road's 50th anniversary reissue opened at #1 on the UK record charts, and it's the first time that the Beatles album has been #1 since like 1969. I mean, granted, the Beatles won, and they were #1 also, but this is just kind of a weird a Beatles album coming back out that's already been out, coming back out and being #1 again, even if it is a reissue. So that's kind of interesting. So good for them. Excuse me. Russian man sues Apple, claiming a message sent to his iPhone converted him to homosexuality. Really? That sounds feasible. Come on, man. Dumb. Jim Belushi. Speaking of Twin Peaks, he was in Twin Peaks season 3, and he hasn't really been seen lately since, according to Jim, that TV show he did a while back. But no, we've learned that he's actually now a marijuana farmer, I believe out in California or somewhere where he can legally grow it and do stuff like that. I guess it's medicinal or whatever. I'm not sure. Maybe it is someplace where it's legalized, like in Colorado or something like that, Washington. Excuse me. But he is going to be creating a special type of weed called the Blues Brothers weed. So I don't know if it's like wine or beer and you can make it a specific way and have it be like a flavor or something like that. But he's making Blues Brothers weed. So because his brother was in the original Blues Brothers. And then when they did Blues Brothers 2000, he was in that role as well. So we'll see what happens. I was at the grocery store the other day, and I was going down the aisle to get my kids their juice boxes for lunch, and I happened to spy Yoo-Hoo. Now I like Yoo-Hoo. I know it sounds weird, but I like Yoo-Hoo. I always have, and they have the Yoo-Hoo like box drinks that you can give to kids for their lunches. So I've had them before, and I just happened to notice, okay, oh, there's a new flavor. I wonder what it is. So I looked down at it underneath the regular Yoo-Hoo. There's a new Yoo-Hoo flavor. And I don't know if it's out in bottles either, but it's out in this juice box sort of lunch drink type of thing you can get. It is chocolate peanut butter flavored Yoo-Hoo. And I don't know if I would want a peanut butter flavored drink, because I don't know, have they ever done one of those? Is there a peanut butter flavored drink that I don't know about? I guess maybe there's peanut butter vodka or something like that, but that just seems kind of an odd sort of. I mean, yeah, I mean, I like Reese's peanut butter cups. It's chocolate and peanut butter, but not in liquid format. And I can't say anything because I haven't tried it, but it just doesn't sound appealing to me. It might sound appealing to you. I don't know. Speaking of drinks, I talked about this uh, a few weeks ago when they first announced it, but now they are officially out. Coke Cinnamon and Winter Spice Cranberry Sprite are both now out in your grocery stores. Um, I saw the 12 packs of both of them in the soda section at my local grocery store, but I wasn't sure I wanted to. I haven't tried them yet, and they didn't have any individual cans that I could try before I buying it. But I did notice they had the really small cans. They're about this big and probably can get, like one swig or something out of it. There's only $4 for a 6 pack. So I was like, you know what? Let's buy one of each of these 6 packs. It's a real quick drink, and probably in the whole scheme of things, you can probably get 3 glasses of soda out of the 6 cans, maybe a full glass. So I figure I get them, I try them. If I like them, I could go and buy them the actual 12 packs and drink them. Or if I don't like them, I've tried them and I can just say, nope, not interested. So I have those upstairs, and that they are out now. But I'm sure if you go to one of your convenience stores, like a Royal Farm store, maybe even a Target or a Walmart or a Sheetz or a Quick Check or whatever you have in your area, you might want to check it out to see if they have the individual ones to try that before you get the 12 packs. But they are out about the holiday drinks are out now. So drink up, enjoy. Scientist lets 6-foot python bite his arm for science. That just doesn't sound right, sound normal. I guess maybe you're trying to test something or do something, but to reach in there and have the python bite down on your arm, that's just kind of weird. Apple to release a smaller, cheaper iPhone 11 next year. It'll be just as powerful as the regular iPhone 11. It'll just be smaller. Just a way for Apple to get more money, I guess. And it's cheaper. So if you want the iPhone 11 but don't want the full Megillah, get the smaller version. It's just as powerful. So check it out. A woman was caught moving drugs by wearing bags of them as hair bows. So they were small little bags of like cocaine and crack or whatever. And she would put them in bows in her hair, so no one would notice. They think they were just like a bow in the hair, but then someone noticed, and she's been arrested for drug trafficking. Coming out in, I believe it was March or May, might actually be May, 2020. The Hunger Games is going to be revisited in a new prequel set 64 years before the original Hunger Games series, written by the same author. It's going to, do I have the title in here? It's going to be, nope, I don't have the title, but it's like Song of Songbirds and something else or whatever. So you're going to get a prequel to the original Hunger Games thing set 64 years before the events in the Hunger Games series prior. So if you remember from the Hunger Games, they were talking about the 75th Hunger Games during the main series. So drop 64 years in that. It's close to the 10th or 11th Hunger Games. So it'll be, the Revolution is still fairly fresh. The Hunger Games is still kind of a newish thing. It's only been around for a decade at this point. So it should be interesting to see what is going to come out of this. I'm sure it's going to sell a ton of books, and I'm sure they're going to have some movie version of it as well, though Jennifer Lawrence will not be in it because, as I said before, it's a prequel. So, prequels are big now. They always have been. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be good. Nightmare Before Christmas Vans shoes are out now, just in time for Christmas, Halloween, however you look at it, as a Christmas or Halloween movie. But you can get your Nightmare Before Christmas Vans out now. I didn't get Vans, but my wife got me a Jack Skellington inflatable for our yard for Halloween. So I'm gonna put that up sometime soon. So that'd be cool. That was for our anniversary. Diane Carroll, Tony winner, first black woman to star in her own series, TV series, was on Dynasty as well, and other stuff as well. She has passed away at the age of 84. She worked a lot with Billy Dee Williams, and Billy Dee Williams wrote a really heartbreaking tweet about how much she meant to him, and so on and so forth like that. So I've heard of her. I don't really know much about her, but I have heard of her. And whenever someone passes away, it's always sad. Are women using vodka tampons to get drunk? We've heard all kinds of things about things that get stuck up there, and this one is something new, whereas apparently they put the tampons, soak them in vodka or whatever, and then stick it up there, and then the alcohol, where the blood vessels are in there, it gets into the bloodstream and gets them drunk quicker. I don't know how true that is, but that is an actual thing that is going on right now. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. And then the other thing about that, and I think I might have mentioned this before, but there is where is that? I know it's over here somewhere. Baby Pod is a vaginal sound system for your fetus. I think I talked about this before, but I figured I may as well mention it now, since women are putting all kinds of weird things up their hoo-haws. But this is a little sound pod that when you're pregnant, if you stick it up there and you play music, the fetus that you're carrying should be able to hear the music and listen to it. So, and they might be the only ones who could hear it. So I don't know how true that is either. That's just kind of weird to me as well. And then another thing, a woman's haircut is going viral when a picture was taken of it from the back. From the back, the way that the hair was curled and braided and stuff like that, it looks like a veiny penis. No joke. It's not a good look. And I know they were trying for something maybe like a Daenerys from Game of Thrones, but this was just an obvious penis that was on the back of her head. So interesting. So now this is kind of interesting. So here are 3 stories that are connected. McDonald's, a cash register was hacked by someone. We don't know who hacked it or whatever, or how it happened or whatever, but it was hacked. And on the screen, instead of showing the price, what people owe for their food, it was the game Doom, which is a first-person shooter where you're hunting down evil monsters. I don't know how they could have done that or how it would look on the cash register, but it was there, and there are pictures of it and stuff like that. That's weird. But at least it wasn't what was on these next 2 things. A Michigan road billboard, one of those ones that you see on the road all the time that has messages, stuff like that. A Michigan billboard was stunned drivers when it was playing porn for 20 minutes. So basically someone hijacked the sign that says, accident 5 miles ahead, or 6 miles to the exit or whatever. Someone took over that board and was showing a porn while people were driving past it. So that's interesting. And then on top of that, also someone also broke into a professor's PowerPoint that he was doing for his class and was showing porn on that as well. So porn is a good one particularly for prankers, to show when you hack these computers and show up on people's stuff unknowingly. So be forewarned about that. DirecTV charged a woman who died at the age of 102 an early termination fee. That just is a cold thing to do. I mean, I understand that you have your business processes where if someone cancels their direct TV before their contract is up, I can understand getting an early termination fee. And maybe I can understand why they're doing this, but you'd think they would have some sort of not backup, but some sort of reasoning not to charge this fee if the person has died. I mean, if the person dies, why would you charge an early termination fee? Because they're dead. If they weren't dead, they would probably still be watching it. But because they died and they're trying to get and their heirs have been trying to get their things in order, they're not going to keep paying a direct TV bill for the length of the contract, whatever it was. They want to get rid of that stuff and they want to move it on and move on with their lives, and end that part of their family member's life, And it just seems that you'd think that for something like death, they would maybe look the other way or have some sort of, okay, it's, we'll waive the fee this time or whatever. But they don't, because they're big business, and that's all big business cares about is the almighty dollar. But one thing that you're allowed to have your own opinions. I'm doing a different story now. Martin Scorsese, who I talked about last week, I love his love of cinema and theater. And he is one of the best filmmakers in the world right now. He made comments this week that he believes that the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies are not true cinema. And I got kind of an issue with that because to me, that sounds rather arrogant. Just because a movie does not have, a deep message or character arc or whatever, you've done like 50 films about mafia people, so really, at least you branched out a little bit in some of your other movies, but a lot of times it's really you're doing the same beats, Marty, and you believe that cinema because it's acting and it's emotional, and it seems in your eyes as a cinema lover, this is what cinema should be. It shouldn't be this, as he called it, like a roller coaster, cotton candy popcorn sort of film. And that just galls me a little bit, not only in the arrogance of it, that because these filmmakers are making movies that are different than yours, that yours are better than theirs because yours are considered cinemas and theirs aren't. And that's why I also have a problem with a lot of cinema geeks as well. I'm not a cinema geek like the people who they spend all their time watching all kinds of cinema, and they talk, they see the art, they see the arty films and the independent films and the foreign films, and they go all off on these tangents like, oh, this is such a glorious piece of blah blah blah, and it's not something that I'd be interested in. But the fact that just because you don't like something doesn't make it less cinema. I don't like a lot of your movies. Does that make it less cinema for me? No, you wouldn't think that, because you think that I'm a filmmaker. All my films are cinema. And look, I love Marty. I think he's great and all that, but I just think that, and he's, allowed his opinion, but it just seems awfully arrogant, making it seem like that, the only cinema that can be counted as cinema is films like his films. And I find that highly arrogant. Art is subjective. Just because you might not like seeing people in costumes fighting each other or having magical powers or shooting stuff or magical glove stone things doesn't make it any less cinematic or art than your stuff. And I'll just keep it at that. Again, Marty, I like your stuff, but you're entitled to your opinion, but also you seem rather arrogant when it comes to stuff like that. And I don't know if that's a good look for you. You're a cinema fan, a cinephile. You should like all types of cinema. You don't have to like the bad movies, but you've got to at least acknowledge the fact that there are other types of movies out there besides your mafia, glorified violence, and language movies that you like to make. So, end of rant. I still like Martin Scorsese. I found what he said to be just highly arrogant, and I didn't like it very much. A rare Francois Langer monkey was born in an Australian zoo. They're very rare, and the fact that there's actually a baby out there. I mean, these animals, I think, are on the brink of extinction. The fact that a new baby has been born is a good sign that maybe possibly there's a chance that their numbers are going to start increasing again soon. So, huzzah for that. About 10:30, in about 10 minutes, I'll do my Joker spoiler review. So just giving you a 10-minute warning. If you don't want to know about the Joker, about 10:30, you can jump off if you want. It should only take about 10, 15 minutes or so. Trader Joe's is making an advent calendar for cats. So you can get an advent calendar that has treats and toys and stuff like that for your cat. So head on over to Trader Joe's and do that. Target is selling Harry Potter socks advent calendars. So advent calendars are again a big thing. They were a big thing last year with cheese and wine ones and whiskey ones and Funko Pop ones and everything. So advent calendars are starting to expand a little bit more from the little dinky chocolates you usually get. So it's kind of a unique thing to do, but that seems kind of neat. Wendy's is releasing their first ever full fantasy tabletop role-playing game. So role-playing games are going to make a comeback, Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that. So Wendy's decided they would create their own and releasing it through their restaurant. So if you're a fan of that, you might want to check that out as well. So go to your local Wendy's, see if they have. It's not going to be, I don't think, anything goofy like, Hamburger God is going to be wrecking havoc. It's going to be a real fantasy role-playing game, I think. So check that out. Target is also selling Golden Girls Halloween costumes. So if you want to dress up as one of your favorite Golden Girls, you can go to Target and they should have them all in stock right now. So go get your Halloween costumes now. Will Smith is launching a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air clothing line. I mean, he had on during the filming of that show, he had on all kinds of crazy outfits, stuff like that. Now you're going to be able to buy them on your own. So congratulations to Will Smith on that. Again, this woman is allowed whatever she wants to do. I just wanted to throw it out there because it's kind of an interesting, unique idea. A woman quit her job so she can spoil her husband like a 1950s housewife. It means, cleaning the house and dressing in dresses and, doing everything to please her man, making food, keeping the house clean and dressing up like a 1950s housewife to spoil her man. And I guess, that you can do whatever you want. It's your relationship. You do whatever you want, so more power to you, I guess. So, but I just want to let it go out there. It just seems kind of interesting. So I'm one of the people that believes that Pluto is still a planet part of our solar system. It's one of the 9 planets of our solar system. And other scientists disagree with me, so much so that they've actually downgraded Pluto, but you all know that anyway. But so now there's only 8 planets in our solar system now, but they believe there is a 9th one out there. Yes, called Pluto. Anyway, that there's a 9th one past Pluto that is what's causing the weird rotations that they see in our solar system, because what's out there that they know of right now doesn't make any sense why the planets are acting the way they are or the moons are acting the way they are. So they believe that there's got to be some other object out there that they just can't see yet and don't know what it is. And now there have been all kinds of rumors about it. There have always been talk that there is another planet out there, humongous, about the size of the sun. One theory was that it was on a collision course with Earth. It was also the planet that it has like a 10,000 year rotation. So 1 year on that planet is 10,000 Earth years. the planet might actually be what created the moon by colliding with the Earth last time it came through. Also, there's rumors that this planet also might be the one that has alien life on it, and or where life on Earth was created, and then it was dropped off on Earth as it went back out to its deep orbit for 10,000 years, and now it's on its way back around. Who knows? We don't know what's going on. The scientists have not been able to find it since this theory came up. So, they don't know what's actually doing it. Well, there's a new theory out now that may explain why they haven't been able to find anything, because you'd figure Pluto was discovered in the 1930s, and they knew that there was something else. They knew before Pluto was even discovered, they knew there was another planet out there because of the way, once again, how the planets were, being affected by gravity and stuff like that. And luckily they found Pluto, which explains some of the weird rotations, but not all of it. And so now they have another one. So that's from the 1930s. So now you're looking at 80 some years, almost 90 years since another planet's been discovered. And in that time, they have not been able to locate this planet. Yes, it might have a 10,000 year rotation, but still you'd think that there might be still some sort of other, you could still been able to have found it by now via using math or physics or anything, and they still haven't. But there's a new theory out now, which actually kind of makes a little bit of sense and sort of fits with the idea that there's something past Pluto that's controlling the solar system, that it could actually be a grapefruit-sized black hole. Now, not a big one that would suck all the life into it and have all that happen and that our universe is doomed. No, it'd be a much smaller one, which is not as it does not have as much gravitational power as regular black holes do, but it's smaller, but it's enough gravitational pull that it's causing these issues with the planets. And honestly, that sounds like more of a reasonable idea than a mysterious 10th planet. I'm going to say 10th planet because I still believe Pluto's 9th planet. A mysterious 10th planet that has not been seen in ever and may have a rotation of 10,000 years. So we'll see. What the hell is that? Oh my God, the first one, I can't understand this. I don't know if that's it, so I'm going to move on. Starbucks is creating a new adult sippy cup. It's a cup that, has a little, instead of it being a straw, you just, pop something off and you can suck it down like a sippy cup. Makes sense to me. I think it's kind of interesting about that. Okay, I got it now. The Chick-fil-A drive-through has been rated the slowest in the country. And sometimes you can see that when I pass my Chick-fil-A, the cars go all the way around. They don't seem to be moving all that fast. So I can understand that. Not much you can do about it. I mean, they're trying. I've seen other places where they have people who take their orders outside and before they even get to the regular box that they always do, and get it taken to try to move it and make it get quicker. So hopefully that'll help out a little bit more. And where's the other one I just had? I was just going to look at. Oh, yeah. New survey says that candy corn is the worst Halloween candy. And I disagree because I love candy corn. I always have. I thought it's very good. It's something I always look forward to eating during Halloween. And I'm ashamed that people don't like it the way I do. I'm not really ashamed, but I just think it's kind of odd. But I'm sure there are probably people out there like, yeah, that's a terrible candy. But there are probably also people out there who are like, no, I don't agree with that as well. And I'm one of those. So I'm going to probably go buy some soon because I need to get my candy bowl filled up. Got a great candy bowl. It's got a hand in it. And then when you reach in, it comes down and grabs the hold of your hand so you can't get the candy. And it says, trick or treat, or want some candy. And You can turn it off, obviously, but it's freaked out the kids so much that they're always afraid to reach in. They keep asking, "Is this on? Is this on?" And sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no, and not telling them if it is or isn't. Let them discover it for their own. It's kind of funny. Speaking of Halloween, a woman has gone viral with her pictures of her crocheted full body costumes she's done for her children or grandchildren or whatever. The two that I saw, there's a whole bunch of other ones, but the two that I saw that were very impressive was she crocheted an entire xenomorph alien from the movie Alien for one of her kids, and a predator for one of her kids also. And they're very, very good. But they're crocheted, so it's made out of yarn and wool and stuff like that, and it's crazy. So that's it for this page. It is now 10:30, so I'm going to again reiterate. I'm getting ready to talk about the Joker movie. I'm going to review it, and I'm going to do a spoilers on it. So if you do not want to hear any spoilers, I recommend you either fast forward if you're watching this on tape delay, fast forward on your YouTube to get to the other cool stuff that I'll be talking about soon, including breastfeeding yoga mom and Yangling chocolate beer. Marvel Universe has legalized marijuana. Japan has an interesting new kid game, and all kinds of other stuff. An iceberg breaking off of the Antarctica, stuff like that, and some sexy Halloween costumes we'll be covering within the next 15 minutes or so. Who knows? This review might not take so long. So if you're watching live, you can jump out or you can mute me now for a while. What was the thing they used to do? It was I think it's Monty Python. So if you didn't want it, so we would start talking, you do this, and that means we're going to start talking about spoilers, and then when we're done, we'll do this. Means we're done talking about. So we'll do something like that. So here we go. I'm getting ready to talk about the Joker with spoilers. So start now. You can either mute me, leave, or whatever, but here we go. Joker movie was pretty interesting. I'm not a fan of the director, Todd Phillips. I did not like his comments that he's been making, a bunch of different comments that he's been making during the roll-up to this movie. And I'm not going to reiterate them right now because I really don't want to talk about them right now. I want to talk about the movie itself. That being said, the movie itself is actually fantastic. I've never been a Joker fan. I've never hidden my dislike for the character. I think he's overrated and overused in the comics and in the movies. I mean, if you think about it, the Batman TV show had a Joker. The Batman reboot with Michael Keaton and Tim Burton had a Joker. The Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy had a Joker. The Ben Affleck Batman faced the Joker as well. And now you have a Joker movie. And there's potential that there'll be another Joker in the Robert Pattinson series if they're going to do Long Halloween. Now, if they're going to do Long Halloween, I'll be okay with an appearance by Joker because he's barely in it, but he is in it for a little bit because they deal with all of Batman's villains in that one. But it needs to focus on the story itself and nothing to do really with the Joker. So that being said, this film to me gives off a 70s, early 80s sort of type of cinematic film, like a Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver sort of. Everything seems dirty, and the set designs and the cars and stuff like that and the hairstyles are very 70s-esque, and it does take place in Gotham City, and Arthur is the main character, played by Joaquin Phoenix. I think Arthur Fleck is his name. He has a job working as a clown. He is someone who works for the clown employment agency. They're people who dress up as clowns, and they go wherever people want a clown, like store closings, hospitals, sporting events, whatever you want. Wherever you need a clown, you hire one from this clown place, and they do their act. And Arthur is kind of a depressed, sad guy. Is on medication because he has a condition where when he gets nervous or scared or just is just not in good shape, he laughs. And that makes things even worse. It's a nervous sort of twitch. You know how people sort of get that little twitch? Instead of a little twitch, he's laughing instead. So he laughs when he's nervous. And his life is terrible. The beginning of the film, and you saw this in the trailer, he's a clown in front of a store, and his sign gets stolen, so he chases after the kids who did it, and they beat the crap out of him. And he goes home and he has to take care of his mother. His mother is sort of not Alzheimer's, but sort of a little bit deranged. She used to work for Thomas Wayne 30 years ago, and she writes him a letter every week because she feels that, Thomas Wayne was always nice to her and, considered her family. And even though they haven't been around so long, if he could help them out because they live in a poor part of town. Arthur's job is not making a lot of money, but he's doing the best he can. And so he tries. She keeps writing these letters to him and expecting Wayne to respond back. Now, Thomas Wayne in this is a bigger asshole than he is in the comics. In the comics, he's almost saintly. In this movie, he's kind of a douchebaggy asshole. But the film is, in essence, more of a rich versus poor story, and as well as a Joker origin story. So anyway, so the city Gotham City's in the middle of big unrest. There's a garbage strike, so there's piles of trash everywhere. Because there's so much trash now, the rats have been coming out of the woodwork and have been getting stronger, called super rats and stuff like that. People are getting beat up and hurt, robbed, killed, and it's a bad time to be in Gotham City. It's a lot like New York was back in the 70s before they cleaned everything up. It's still kind of a shithole, but it is not nearly as bad as it used to be. So after being attacked by these kids, a friend of his from the clown college or clown employment agency gives Arthur a gun and to protect himself. And during an event at a hospital, he drops the gun in the middle of the children's hospital. And immediately the hospital does not like that. They call the employment agency. The employment agency terminates his job. And so he's very unhappy. He's in full costume and makeup, and he's heading home. And he's on the train, and there's a woman on the train who's being bothered by three rich assholes who work for Thomas Wayne. They're like young guys who work on his lawyer team or whatever, and they've been drinking, and they're being very forward to the woman. And basically you feel like that any minute now they're going to grab her and they're going to rape her, and you feel bad for her. And that makes Arthur nervous, so he starts laughing in his clown costume. So of course these punk guys, they don't appreciate it, so they go over and they start beating the crap out of him. However, Arthur's had enough, and he pulls out his gun and he shoots and kills all three of these guys. And after that point, Arthur, who has been thoroughly depressed through the whole part of that movie, now seems to have a new life. He wants to be a stand-up comedian. He finally gets the urge to go out and do stand-up comedy. Nobody knows who killed these three rich assholes. The witnesses only say someone who dresses like a clown, who looked like a clown. And that sort of inspires the poor to start wearing clown masks and start rising up against the rich, who they feel are the ones that are oppressing them, because they were rich people who were killed by a poor person, and they probably deserved it. They're thinking the story that they are rolling in their heads is that these guys were being dicks, and to the poor person fought back. So now it's the rest of the poor people start time to fight back against the rich people. So that's where the divide starts to happen. Meanwhile, Arthur, his whole life seems to be going great. He has a relationship with a woman down the hall from him. His stand-up career seems to be going just fine. And then the stuff starts going downhill. He had been seeing a shrink as part of a city, free city thing that was giving him drugs to help him, get over his depression. Well, they're cutting that program. So he's no longer going to be able to have a shrink and will not be able to get the drugs anymore. Also, Thomas Wayne is coming out because these were people that work for him. He's going to come out and run for mayor to clean up the town. And then Arthur discovers that when his mother says, when he comes home, his mother has written another letter to Thomas Wayne, and he reads it after she goes to bed and discovers that the Joker, or not Joker, he's not the Joker yet, Arthur is actually the illegitimate child of Thomas Wayne, because Thomas Wayne had an affair with his mom 30 years ago. So this sort of sends him off into a tizzy that he wants to confront his father, and ends up making his way out to Wayne Manor, where he runs into a young Bruce Wayne and, tries to talk to him to get him to go get his dad. Then Alfred, who I'm assuming is Alfred, comes out and tells him to go away, and Arthur threatens him and then leaves. Then he goes back, and then what happens? Then his mother ends up having a stroke or something, because the police have been interviewing anybody who's been a clown, this clown employment agency. Were they anywhere near the vicinity of the subway? And they're suspects. So they wanted to talk to Arthur because he was a clown, and does he know anything about this case or whatever? So they go to question his mother because Arthur's not there, and the mother has the stroke. And so Arthur finds her, and they take her to the hospital. And while they're watching television, I can't remember the character's name, that Robert De Niro's character plays a talk show host like Johnny Carson. Let's see if I can find his name real quick. I can't remember it. Franklin, I think, is his last name. Something Franklin. Joker. Cast. De Niro. More power, Robert De Niro. I don't know. Let's see. But he plays a character named Franklin. Let me see if it's in his Wikipedia here. A filmography. Let me look at his filmography. Give me a second here, and I'll. Should be right here at the bottom. There we go. He plays Murray Franklin. Yes, so he's like a Johnny Carson type. So he's has his own talk show, and so he and Arthur and his mom watch Franklin all the time. And while he's in the hospital with his mom, they're watching Murray Franklin, and there was videotape of his stand-up act that Murray found and airs on his show, because it was a horrible in the Joker's mind. He did I lost his. All the names are starting to come together in my head. Arthur. In Arthur's mind, the stand-up job he did was excellent, but when we watch it on video, it's terrible, and so Murray makes fun of him, and that angers Arthur to no end. And eventually, he discovers that Thomas Wayne is going to be at a event, and he sneaks in to confront him, where we learn that Arthur's was actually is not Thomas Wayne's son, that Arthur's mom was fired from her job at Wayne Manor because she was psychologically unbound, and that Arthur is actually adopted and not her true son, and that upsets him even more. So he goes to the Arkham Asylum to get the files on his mother, who he learns was in the hospital at one time, and the file clerk comes back and tells him why she was in the hospital. She was kind of crazy, worked for the Waynes, and the Waynes fired her because she was not in her right mind, and she adopted a son, Arthur, who her and her boyfriend at the time abused horribly. And Arthur doesn't remember that. So now he knows that Thomas Wayne is not his father, and knows that his mother is not his mother, and that he was treated badly. So he ends up killing his mother, snuffing her life out, and moves on. We discover that his girlfriend he had was actually a hallucination also, that it was just sort of a dream he was hoping for. He would dream of like having coffee with her, but actually he'd be having coffee by himself, but he would imagine it as being having coffee with her. So he starts to lose his mind now, and that's where the Joker starts to come in. So he gets a phone call from Murray Franklin's publicist saying that the video that they showed of his stand-up has gotten a huge response, that Murray wants him on the show. So he decides he's going to go on the show. And so he goes, dresses up in the full Joker costume, and ends up, killing a few more people to clean up his messes. Some of the people that he feels have wronged him, he ends up killing them. And then he is on his way to Murray Franklin's studios. He's taking the train. There is a protest outside of City Hall, where people are all dressing in clown masks and costumes because of the clown murders of the rich people. It's a way that the poor are gleaming on the clown motif as a way to get revenge against the rich people. So there's a mob full of people in the subway dressed as clowns to go down there. The police, who have discovered that they still think that Arthur's a suspect, they chase him down when Arthur runs from them, and he goes onto board the subway train with all these clowns and sort of gets himself into the mob in there. So he's in disguise there. And the police are looking for him, and they start pushing people around, and the people in the clown mask don't like that. They start pushing back. So one of the police officers ends up shooting and killing one of the innocent people wearing the clown mask, and that sets them all off. So everybody on board the train starts beating the two cops up close to death. And Arthur walks out and goes to Murray's show and asks him to be introduced as the Joker, and because that's what Murray called him during this segment. And Arthur knows actually that he feels that he's just been invited so that that Murray can make fun of him some more. So he has a plan on what he's going to do. So once he gets out, he starts acting really crazy, and then starts doing Joker-esque type of things, including saying that he's the one that killed the three people on the subway, admits it, and then holds Murray at gunpoint, and they have a conversation, and Murray keeps his cool, and they have an argument back and forth. And then Arthur just says, to hell with this, and kills Murray on live television. That sets off a spark, because he gets arrested, and the mob starts to riot in Gotham City and starts, trashing things and smashing buildings and burning cars and stuff like that. And Joker has created this insanity. So he's in a police car in a very reminiscent homage to Heath Ledger's Joker. There's a scene where he's in the back of the police car looking out the window like Ledger does in Dark Knight. So that's an homage to him. Plus, the Batman theme from the Christopher Nolan thing plays briefly in that sequence. And then, sure enough, during the riot, we get a shot of a movie theater, and the movie theater is showing Zorro the Gay Blade. And the minute I saw that, I was like, that's where the Waynes are. And sure enough, the Waynes walk out. Bruce, Thomas, and his wife are walking out in the middle of this riot, and are trying to get away. So they go down the alley. One of the guys dressed in the clown mask follows them, knowing full well who he is, and he doesn't trust Wayne, and ends up killing Thomas and his wife, steals the pearls like we've always seen, and leaves Bruce alive. Hence, Batman is formed. But I find that funny because in the comics, they went to see the Mark of Zorro, which was a Douglas Fairbanks 1940s movie, because when Batman was created in 1939, that was like the hot movie at the time. So, and then they've done it, over the years, that it was like a, they show old movies again, and that the family wanted to go see it. So it's always the Zorro movie that they're coming out of when the Waynes get killed. In this case, I sort of like the joke where, since it's a 1970s, early 80s set piece, Zorro the Gay Blade would be out at that time, and so they went to see that, and I thought that was hilarious, and that's one of the reasons why Dawn wanted to watch Zorro the Gay Blade last night, because of what I told her about that, because I knew she'd appreciate that, because that's one of her favorite movies. So I find that funny. So the Joker is in the police car, and then he's seeing all this stuff, and he's starting to laugh because he thinks he did this when an ambulance crashes into the police car, killing the police officers and knocking out Arthur. And it was driven by more of these Joker people, and they know that that's him in the police car, so they treat him sort of like their messiah. They pull him out of the police car and get him on top of the police car, and he gets up and starts to dance on the police car, knowing full well that he created this. And then it flashes to Arthur in a white room, and he's looking a little older, got some white in his hair, stuff like that. And he's laughing again, and he's talking to a shrink, and the shrink says, "What's so funny?" And before he answers, we get a flash of young Bruce standing in the alleyway by his parents, by himself, and cuts back to Arthur saying, "You wouldn't understand it." And he ends up killing the psychiatrist, and then walks out into the hallway with bloody footprints, and then gets chased by an orderly, and that's how the movie ends. Now, the ending has brought up a few interesting interpretations. One is that they believe that that sequence shows that the whole movie takes place inside of Arthur's head, that none of that was real, because there have been times during the movie where he's had these images. I told you that the girlfriend he has is he's imagining that. And then there's another time where early in the film he's imagining himself being on Murray Franklin's show as himself and not as the Joker. And Murray loves him, and everyone loves him there, and it gives him, it makes him feel love. So, there's that. And the fact that there's also a sequence where there was a shot of him in a white room trying to get out. So early on in the film, again, is like saying, have you ever been, hospitalized or anything like that? And there's a shot of him trying to break out of one of the rooms. So we don't know what's true or not. So one interpretation was that he dreamed the whole thing and that none of it's real. But and I'm glad that when I first saw that ending, when they flashed to the picture of Bruce in the alleyway and then him saying, "You wouldn't understand the joke," I truly believe that he had gotten, the reason why he's in the asylum now is because he fought Batman, and Batman beat him and sent him to the asylum. And somehow during their fight, Joker discovers Batman's identity and then realizes that he helped create Batman, the same person who put him in jail because of his clown riot. So that's why he would say you wouldn't understand the joke, because he created the Batman who tied him up and put him in prison, or in Arkham Asylum, as it were. So it's your version of the interpretation, whatever you want to. I can see it on both ends, but I think the movie is more interesting if he actually did become the real Joker and ended up fighting Batman like 10 years later, discovering his secret identity, and then gets caught and thrown into Arkham Asylum. That would make a lot of sense. Plus, it would also make the Batman Joker relationship seem a bit more realistic, because when they mentioned that he was possibly could be Thomas Wayne's son, I was like, oh God, they're actually going to go down and do that. But then, and then when they were leaving the movie theaters, like, they're not going to have him kill them, are they? And when it wasn't, I was like, okay, I'm fine with how things are. But the fact that he realizes that he probably helped create Batman is what makes it good. So I enjoyed it enough. I did not feel sympathy for the character. Everything that he does of his own volition. And yes, life sucks, and then you die and stuff like that. But everybody's life sucks, man. You just gotta deal with it better than being a homicidal maniac. So still worthwhile. I think Joaquin should totally get an Oscar nominee, possibly even win the Oscar. But we'll see. So that's my spoilerific review of the Joker. Definitely think you should check it out for yourself. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I've got probably about a page and a half left of stuff to talk about. So let's get moving right along with the Buffalo Bills. Two Buffalo Bills fans got married during halftime at last week's football game. Jim Kelly, who was the quarterback that took the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls, was the guy who gave away the bride. So I think it's kind of neat that you find a couple that really bonds over football and are able to get married at a place that bonded them. I think is a really cool idea. What was the other football one? Julian Edelman of the New England Patriots, early on in his career, told a story recently about how he went to go in to do the hot tub, because football players do. They need to go to the hot tub to get better and feel better and get your muscles relaxed. And he walks in on his coach, Bill Belichick, naked in the hot tub, which is against the rules. If you see the rules, you have to have at least some kind of trunks or towel or something around you. You can't be naked in the hot tub. So Bill Belichick broke the rules at that, and Julian Edelman saw him, his coach, naked in the hot tub. So, excuse me, my cough seems to be coming back. So kind of a creepy sort of thing there, but interesting, I guess. Kevin Smith announced that he has going to get Clerks 3 on board now. So, he's been trying to do Clerks 3 for a while, and then Mallrats 2 and stuff like that, but things just kept jumping up. So Clerks 3 is going to be his next film in a little bit. So if you're a fan of Kevin Smith and his Clerks movies, well, there you go. Cheerios keeps creating new and different cereals all the time. This one is one that I'm never going to eat, but you might be interested in it. Toasted coconut Cheerios is now going to be a thing. So if you like your toasted coconut, they'll be releasing that really soon. So go for it. You'll love it. Research has translated bat speak. I should have probably done this one after my Joker review. And they discovered that the bats like to argue a lot. So I guess you can figure out that they were arguing in some way. I don't know. Some trailers came out this week also besides the Harley Quinn one. Actually, a bunch came out today because New York Comic Con is going on. One of those was they showed the new Picard trailer. We also get a date of when it's going to be coming up. The show Picard will be debuting on January 23rd, 2020 on the CBS streaming service. And we got a better idea of what the series is going to be about. This is the second or third trailer. I think they did a teaser trailer, which just showed him walking through the winery and then announcing the Picard show. And then they did another teaser where they revealed some of the stuff that was going on. This one reveals a lot more, including appearances from Will Riker, Deanna Troi, Seven of Nine, Data. And you get a general idea of some of the other stuff that's going to be rolling through the series. He's going to be with a bunch of younger people. He's going to be breaking Starfleet law because they don't want him to investigate whatever. He's here to try to save a woman, and he's going to have to go into outer space to do it. So he breaks Starfleet law from what I've seen. And it looks like Seven of Nine is actually going to have a bigger role than we think she might have because she was all over that trailer. And then Riker and Deanna Troi are still married and they have kids, and you get to see them a little bit. And you see some other things as well. So it was kind of saying Data appeared to him in a dream. But it was kind of neat, and if you were a Star Trek Next Generation fan, I think you would really, really enjoy this right now. So I think that's up your alley. I have sort of lost my love for Walking Dead. I haven't watched it for about 2 seasons now. And I have no desire. I stopped watching Fear the Walking Dead after the first 2 episodes of the 2nd season. And so I haven't been caught up on that either. And to be honest, I'm fine with it. The comic is now over. So now everything else is just sort of butter about what you're going to get. So AMC announced that they're going to be doing a 3rd Walking Dead series. And we had a quick little teaser trailer a while back, and I talked to you about they filmed an airplane wreck in a Virginia suburb or something like that. So we got the trailer from the New York City Comic Con, a new full trailer for the new series. Didn't have a name for it yet, but just a general idea what it is. It looks like Walking Dead Next Generation. The story takes place 10 years after the zombie apocalypse started. And in that time, it's these kids who are all, they appear to be like 18 to 20 years old. They've grown up in the world where it's zombies all over the place. And they've been lucky that they've lived in a small town that hasn't really been affected as much as some of the bigger towns. The small town seems to still be, thriving, as it were, which, to be honest, would probably make sense if you don't have quite as many people and the zombie apocalypse hasn't affected you in any way. You could probably still run your community fine, with the occasional zombie maybe popping up here and there. But the majority of stuff is, depending on where you are, you're probably going to be safe from zombies, stuff like that. And this is generally what it appears to be, is that they are following a bunch of kids who've grown up during the zombie apocalypse time, and they're hearing all about how the big cities are being destroyed and stuff like that, and overrun by the zombies, and they're upset that they're never going to be able to experience the big city life, growing up in a small town. But a group of them decide that they're going to explore the big cities, so they make their way to a big city. So it's a group of youngins. I mean, like, I'm talking, it's like, Beverly Hills 90210, zombie hunter, type of thing. They are like 18 to 23-year-old kids, and their relationship stuff and seeing stuff. I mean, one of the jokes is that someone's trying to kill a zombie who's sort of like pinned down on the ground, still alive though, and she throws up on him and can't kill him in the end, says, I showed you, or something like that. So it looks interesting. I don't know if it's going to be enough for me to watch it, but it might. We'll see. Do I have that written down anywhere? Let's see. No. I'll find it again somewhere. But speaking of zombies, here's an interesting story. A dancer who did a zombie makeup for her dance routine was mistaken, because it was so realistic, mistaken that people thought she actually had a medical emergency, and they called like EMTs and 911 to come and help her, because it was such a good makeup job. It looked like her face, the bottom part of her mouth, was all completely gone. So they were freaking out about how good it was. So they called to have her get checked on and make sure she was okay. They jumped to the conclusion of they didn't ask her what was going on. So that was kind of funny to see that. Yuengling, the beer made in Pennsylvania that was not available to come down to us for a while, but now is available everywhere, is going to be teaming up with Hershey's to create a chocolate-infused beer. I think that could be probably pretty interesting. It might taste pretty good. We'll see. A monkey surprised a dog by putting the monkey's hand up the dog's butt. So the monkey, saw a dog and just was interested, said, "Oh, what does this do?" And puts his hand up the dog's butt. And the dog was really surprised by that. So very, very cute. Pottermore, the website for the Harry Potter heads, is now going to close up. I don't know if they're going to be rebranding it or redoing it, but right now it no longer exists. It has ceased to be, and it is done. I can't believe I don't have the Walking Dead trailer on here anywhere. Swiss Miss Hot Chocolate is going to be releasing unicorn marshmallow hot chocolate this winter. Swiss Miss is always really good because it comes in the powder packs, and you just pour it in there, and you pour your hot water into it, and you've got yourself instant hot chocolate. So, and then the marshmallows are in there usually, and they're dehydrated, so when they get water in, they become big again. So that's good. Pictures of a breastfeeding yoga mom have surfaced, where it's a picture of a woman who is sort of doing a not really a handstand, but she's got her shoulders and neck on the ground, and her body is up, and her legs are sort of over this way, and her breasts are out here, and her young daughter is sucking on the breast by being breastfed while she's doing yoga. So that's interesting. Did not expect to see that. Another thing I did not expect to see is in Japan, a viral video of a new arcade game. Let's back up. Do you know the claw? You know, the joke in Toy Story was, the claw game is where you have a claw and you put your money in and you control it to find the gift that you want, and then you move it around, and then you drop it down, you close the claw, and hopefully it'll pick up what you want, and then you'll be able to pull it back and you'll be able to get it. It usually doesn't work because usually it goes down. You might grab it, but then as it's getting pulled up, it slips out and falls down, or you grab the wrong thing. So it's made for you not to really get the good stuff, to be honest. Well, the Japanese have improved upon that. What they have now is, instead of it being a small little box, it's a giant tub filled with all kinds of gifts. Instead of you controlling the claw, you put your child on the claw. You get strapped in and you control the claws. You move your child over where you want to drop to get the present. You drop them down and they have to grab everything they can in their hands, and then you pull them back up, and then you pull them out, and you get those prizes that you get. It's a very funny video, and it's 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 really definitely something very interesting to look at. uh, Schools have created wellness rooms for teachers to help them de-stress. Their rooms, you always thought that the teacher's lounge was like that, but I guess this is a specialized version of the teacher's lounge, where they have got all kinds of good stuff for them: massage chairs, and probably have refrigerators full of beer and wine and stuff like that, and they might have other stuff in there, TVs, music, whatever. But it's a place for teachers to de-stress a little bit, because, to be fair, teachers do get a lot of stress out of their life. So um, a deli woman gets arrested. A woman who works at a deli gets arrested by putting meth in the bean dip and giving it to her coworkers. So she put meth into some bean dip and gave it to her coworkers to eat. So that could potentially kill somebody if you weren't careful. A Chicago catering cart for an airplane causes chaos at the Chicago airport. So there's a video out there where, they were getting a catering cart that was going to take the food onto the airplane that they have, and the cart just starts spinning around, and no one knows why it was doing that. So that was kind of crazy. Here's some sad stories here. A 6-year-old boy dies after his father tried to perform an exorcism on him. I guess he thought his son was possessed by the devil and tried to do his own professional exorcism, which unfortunately ended up killing his child, which is, again, sort of a awful thing to happen. Did I catch all the stuff on this side too? Yeah, just want to make sure I got everything on this side. Yeah. All right. The other sad thing is a 10-year-old dies halfway down a water slide. I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if they had a heart attack or they hit something that killed them, or their neck went wrong. But regardless, the 10-year-old child died halfway down the water slide. They went down the water slide, about halfway down, something happened, and they ended up dying. That's a shame. That's sad also. Speaking of the similar thing, 2 people were killed as a roller coaster actually plowed into the ground. So I guess it was doing the things where it was doing a spin around. So instead of going on the track, it went down and it smashed the ground and killed 2 people. So all kinds of terrible, awful stuff happening out there. Here's some good news. An 82-year-old woman with dementia uh, gets her memory back after she changes her diet. And I don't know, I guess, I don't know how true that is, but just if that's secure to you know, eh, uh, hold on. That's secure for dementia and stuff like that. That might be an easy thing to test and see if that works for everybody. Students invent a bacteria that eats plastic as a way to help rid our environment of plastic. These bacteria could break it down and eat it, which would make it more beneficial for our Earth as well. Binge watching the TV show Friends can ease anxiety. I guess that could really work for any TV show, binge watching comedy show. They just pinpointed Friends since it's its anniversary this year. So, uh, another trailer that came out. I'm not a big Michael Bay fan. Ryan Reynolds has a Michael Bay film called Six Underground about six soldiers who are declared legally dead, so they can go around and do all kinds of black ops sort of stuff. And it's a Michael Bay film with lots of explosions and action and stuff like that. It's going to be direct to Netflix, which is another big thing that seems to be appearing a lot more lately. And the one cool thing I liked about it, I'm not a Michael Bay fan. I didn't like the trailer. I mean, it looked like a typical Michael Bay film. But the one thing I liked about it was there was an electromagnetic thing where like all the bad guys get swept up into the electromagnetic thing because of all the metal in their bodies, and that was kind of a cool scene. But Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds, and I guess it could be an interesting action film, but it's Michael Bay, and I'm right there. I'm not interested. Marvel Comics this week had their universe, the Marvel universe in the comics, has now legalized marijuana. So marijuana is now legal in the Marvel universe. So good job for that. So I wonder if that's going to be a story arc, or they just said, hey, let's just say that's going to happen, and we'll see what happens. Stupid People. A mountain biker jumps over a black bear on a trail. So he's riding on his mountain bike down a trail. He just happens to be going downhill, and he sees a giant black bear up ahead. And so he decides to jump over it on his bike. So that's what he did. The TSA goes through a man's luggage, discovers an urn in it, opens it up, discovers it to be filled with ashes. Turns out to be the ashes of his mother that he went to pick up and is now going to spread wherever the will had it done. So his mother's ashes are in his suitcase. He's getting ready to, get rid of them. And the TSA checks it to make sure that there's nothing illegal or whatever in it. And they forget to close it so that when he opens his backpack, or his suitcase rather, his mom's ashes are all over the suitcase. Kind of a shitty thing to do, TSA. I don't think it was done deliberately, but still kind of a shitty thing to do. Sexy Vegan is a guy who's named Sexy Vegan on the internet or social media or whatever, Instagram, whatever, has been arrested for sexually assaulting his dog. Haven't had a good animal sex story in a while, so I figured I'd drop that in there. It's disgusting. But the fact is, it seems to be a way of life this year, particularly. I've had so many animal sex stories this past summer that it's been ridiculous. And the fact that we haven't had any in a while was fantastic until now. So, dude, there's something wrong with that. Reporters scurry around in panic after a mouse falls out of the White House ceiling during a correspondence meeting. So these reporters are at the White House. They're having a meeting, discussing stuff with the government, stuff like that. And while they're talking to it, a mouse falls from the ceiling and lands on the lap of one of the guys. So the White House has become a rat-infested shithole. And I wonder why that is. A woman chops off her blindfolded lover's penis using garden shears during a BDSM session for treating her like a trophy. So she didn't like how he was treating her during their BDSM. I guess he was the one who was getting the the S&M done to him, and she was the one doing it, and she didn't like how he was reacting to things, so he's blindfolded. She goes in and chops off his wiener with garden shears. Ouch. Stupid people. A female passenger opens the airplane emergency door in midair because she wanted some fresh air. I have to do this at least once a show. What is wrong with people? Why are people so stupid? Cold Stone Creamery, the ice cream shop, is releasing a jet black ice cream for Halloween that is filled with Kit Kats, Oreos, and M&Ms. It sounds good. I just don't know what the black ice cream would taste like. But it's got Kit Kats and Oreos and M&Ms, so it's probably going to taste pretty good. Cold Stone Creamery knows how to do ice cream pretty good. Argument over Carson Kane, I guess, and Busch Light leads to an assault. So people are arguing over, I guess, a politician in this one town or a person in this one town, and Busch Light, not Bud Light, Busch Light, and it caused them to get into a fight over beer and a person. Cheap beer as it is, too. Vendors have been caught charging Dolphins fans $724 for 2 beers during last week's Dolphins game. That's just a crime right there. I mean, yes, beers are expensive at football games, but not $724. Now, I understand maybe why they're doing it, because the Miami Dolphins are tanking their season this year. So the fan base is not going to be there. So the vendors are not going to be making any money. So they're going to try to make as much money as they can with what they got. But that's wrong. I mean, yes, 2 beers would probably cost you $16 at any other place, any other venue. $724 is way too much. I talked about sexy Halloween costumes last few weeks. We got a couple more now. Sexy White Claw, which is, I guess, is sort of this generation Zima, is a Halloween costume now. I think it's just like a white shirt that says White Claw on it, but it's a tight white shirt for women, I guess, and maybe for men as well. But that's where the sexy comes in. And then there's sexy Michael Myers costumes. Michael Myers is the killer in the Halloween movies, and now there's a sexy version of it for both men and women. Yeah. Turtles line up to be scrubbed when they notice a woman with a brush. So this woman has a brush. I guess she was intending on doing this, but she has a brush, and these turtles in the water saw her, and they came up to her, and she brushed off their shells. I thought that was kind of neat, so I figured I'd drop it in here. A young boy named Cade Lull, age 9, took a wrong turn during a 5K race he was running and ends up winning the 10K race that was going on simultaneously after he made that wrong turn. So he was running a 5K but ends up winning a 10K. I thought that's kind of funny. Cade could be a girl also. I don't know. A 315 billion ton iceberg has broken off of Antarctica. And the funny meme about that now is that there is a story about, and I've talked about this on my show before, the Titanic 2 will be shipping out on 2021 or 2022, something like that. Probably 2022, because 1912 is when the Titanic actually shipped. So it'll probably be 2022. So they're going to be actually having the Titanic 2 is going to be doing the same exact path as the Titanic was taking before it sank. Now, by the time 2022 rolls around, this 315-ton iceberg might actually make its way up to where the Titanic is. So this could be a big news story in about 3 years. So we'll find out. Wearable airbags, wearable airbag helmets for bike riders is a thing now. And the ad for it is funny. It's all these bike riders running into signs or cars or something like that are parked, and this bag just overcomes their head and protects them from any brain damage. It's a good idea in general to have an airbag over your head, but you think that's what a helmet is for. But for those, I guess, who don't want to wear helmets, you wear this wearable thing, and that if you do hit something, the airbag will protect you like a helmet does. I don't know how effective it will be, but I don't know. And finally, the best story of the night, the one to finish on. The Dutch police arrested a bird for taking part in a robbery. They put this bird in his own cell, give him bread and water, and then when the media reported on it, the media put a black bar over the bird's face so you couldn't recognize the bird. Like they do any other burglar, they put the black bar over the face so you don't know who it is, what they look like. I think it's funny. I think it's really great. They arrested a bird for taking part in robbery. I don't know what that has, how they did that or whatever. And then when the media reported on it, they blocked out the bird's face like he was some other common criminal. It's funny as hell. And that's it for today's episode of 316 Clown Comments, bro. Real quick, we do have some interesting things celebrating this week. Cheers debuted in 1982. Halloween 6 with a very young Paul Rudd debuted in 1995. It's not a really good one. It's more violent than the rest of the Halloween ones, but it did bring about the idea that Michael Myers is actually controlled by a secret cult. And it's an interesting idea, but it was just way too violent. Zombieland, which the sequel comes out October 18th. The original Zombieland came out 10 years ago this week. Amazing Stories, that's something you haven't heard about. Steven Spielberg produced this series for NBC at 7 o'clock. They used to watch all the time. That was basically a Twilight Zone, but instead of it being about creepy type stuff, it was, self-contained stories. The one that always sticks out to me is the Kevin Costner one, where he plays a World War II pilot, and he's in one of the big planes, and they've been attacked, and they can't fire back, and they're getting ready to crash land or something like that. And the guy who's the gunner is an artist, and he's able to draw wheels onto the bottom of the plane so it can land safely. That's one of the stories I remember. There was a whole bunch of other ones that I honestly don't remember, but it was a fun series, one and done stories that you weren't expecting. So that came out in 1985. The Crow is celebrating its 25th anniversary. That was a great film, comic book film, but depressing with the death of Brandon Lee during the filming of it. And finally, Zoolander was released in 2001 on this date. Actually, it was released on 9/30, actually, which was Monday, because I always remember this too, because it was delayed. It was actually supposed to come out the week of September 11th. Now, remember, September 11th happened in 2001, and this film was filmed before 9/11 happened. So there's scenes. It takes place in New York. There's scenes with the World Trade Center still in the film. So when 9/11 happened, they weren't going to release any movies at all, so they pushed the release back of any movies to late September. In this case, Zoolander didn't debut until September 30th. And I think they tried to edit out any scenes with the two towers, so the Twin Towers. So that was interesting. But that being said, the film is genuinely funny, and it's really fun. And literally today, October 5th, 2019, is the literal 50th anniversary of the first episode of Monty Python that started the whole craziness. So Monty Python started 50 years ago, October 5th, 1969. So Monty Python was fantastic. The movies were fantastic. They're fantastic. And that's the end of this fantastic show. Next week is episode 317. Let's see, we're looking at, all right, so no, I won't have any movie reviews. I'll have movie reviews on the next date, the 19th. So I don't know what's going to happen here for 317. I'll keep looking at the news stories. Hopefully we'll get some interesting ones over the next week or so. Enjoy, if you're here on the East Coast, enjoy the nice, cool fall weather. Go out and do some fall stuff. I'm going to probably do some Halloween decorating over the next few days. I have off Monday from work, so I got an extra couple days off. So I still have 2 more days off of work. So I'm excited for that. And we'll see what happens. So thanks for watching, guys, and take care, and enjoy the rest of your weekend and this fall weather. And go see Joker. Make up your own mind about it. I thought it was interesting, and you might too. Okay, bye.